just a quick little update on these train layouts. I recently purchased a few other things, better yet. And I'll pretty much, better than talking about it, I'll talk and show you at the same time. Alright, what we're looking at here are a pair of SD45s. These are made by Athearn. These are HO scale. They run on the Rio Grande Railroad. I'm not exactly sure where that's at, but I'm pretty sure that this is for freight service. I don't think this is for passenger service, but I could be wrong. And directly behind it, what we have is a P42 Genesis, made by Athearn. Amtrak Genesis, by the way. I picked these up. Actually, I picked this one up about a week ago. And these two I've had for a couple of weeks now. And honestly, what got me into wanting to purchase these locomotives here is that I seen someone did a YouTube video clip, and he had a set of HO scale SD45s. And honestly, I like the way they look so much, I decided to pick up two of them myself. As a matter of fact, I liked them so much that I got the exact same brand that he has. They might even be the exact same model number if I'm not mistaken. Also, just a quick little inside tip on this. If you take a look, it's very, very detailed. Both of them, they got the hoses and whatnot. The couplers. These have 6 axles per truck, if I'm saying it correctly. I'm still a newcomer, so I might not be pronouncing it the right way. You can see the, I guess that's where you step on this little piece down here, which is very detailed. It has the holes and stuff like that in it to make it look realistic. Now with this one, I had to glue it back on because accidentally it broke off, and I kind of didn't get it back on the exact same way, so it's a little crooked, but I'll probably see if I could straighten that out some other time. You take a look and you see the fans and all of the accessories on the top. Now I do believe these little windows slide from side to side. I don't know if I can. I'll see if I can get something that'll move that. Yep. There is no little figures inside of the cab. It's just, and the cab doesn't get lit up either. It's just they didn't go too far into detail about that. But now, talking about these locomotives, I got both of these numbers, 5329, and I have 5331. Now, one thing I'm gonna say, out of the two locomotives, that 5329 is slightly stronger. As a matter of fact, I'm gonna say out of all of my HO scale trains, that this SD45 5329 is the strongest out of all the HO scale engines that I have. The next one that I would say that's almost as strong as this one would have to be this one here, which would be this P42 Genesis, this Amtrak Genesis from Athearn, which this is very strong. Only thing is, when you run them on high speeds or you put more power into the track, doing a little test myself, this one seems to always gain a little more speed. The Amtrak might start off a little better, but this one eventually gains more speed. Now, like I said, I've seen these, and one thing that I find very attractive about them, there are many different locomotives that look like this in real life and in modeling. But the one thing that captured my interest about this is the way the hood and the fans are set up in the back of the engine. I like this arch that it has. I think, for whatever reason, I just find it very attractive. And there's only few locomotives that actually have that type of arch. There's many of them that have this same front and have these same setups, but there's only few of them that have this very same arch. Now, the reason, or what kind of got me into liking engines like this, is when I rode, actually New Jersey Transit runs locomotives that have a similar engine that looks almost exactly like this. It's not an SD45, I think it's a GP-40 or something, if I'm not mistaken. As a matter of fact, I'll show you briefly on what I'm talking about. Now that you see what I'm talking about, the only difference between this train or these locomotives and New Jersey Transit is that New Jersey Transit doesn't have 6 axles. Now, the only thing is, I don't know if all of these axles or all these wheels are powered. I'm not exactly sure, so I can't really speak too much on that. But I think overall it's just a very good look and a very impressive engine to have on my layout. So I had to go ahead and buy it. I couldn't resist it. As a matter of fact, I might even go ahead and purchase more. And I bought these from Trains World out in Brooklyn. And it would actually be nice if if they made some with the New Jersey Transit paint scheme. The only thing I wish that it had is the ditch lights that oscillate. And I'm also going to see if I can try to find one in O scale, because I would actually love to have one of these in O scale. But like I said, I'm very impressed with these engines, and I'm going to be doing passenger service with these locomotives. Now I'll show you the exact train cars that I purchased. And those are these right here. Ace Altamont Commuter Express. Now, I'm not exactly sure where these are located or what state runs these. I think these are in California, if I'm not mistaken. They came with 2 coach cars and a cab car. And these are made by Athearn as well. This is apparently a coach car. Now, I'm going to be running these with the current engines that I have. But like I said, I'm very impressed with these engines, and I'm going to be doing passenger service with these locomotives, because I think that these are, I don't have nothing against freight, but freight is just, honestly, I think passenger cars look better. You know, they have lights, there's different things about them. Freight cars are just kind of plain to me. Not that I'm putting down anybody else's taste of what they like, but with these, you're going to see me doing passenger service. I might get a couple of freight cars, but I haven't decided that yet. Or I might do a couple of other things. Aside from that, if you take a look onto this layout, you see I eventually set up this HO scale layout. And this is just the first turnout. I actually have another turnout switch on this layout. And of course, it's not nothing big. This is just a loop. And I just put a rip track just so I could run trains into a different track and things of that nature. I also purchased a couple of stations for the trains, and just to make it look a little bit more realistic. Now, just on another note, all of these engines, except for this Amtrak P42 Genesis, I bought these all from Trains World out in Brooklyn. But now that we're finished on talking about the HO, let's get into the O scale now. This is a very impressive engine. I do like it a lot. As a matter of fact, let me light it up so I can better yet display it. Okay, I'm going to say that I'm very impressed with this Lionel O-scale locomotive. It is out of all of my O-gauge locomotives that I have, which is not a whole lot, but it is actually the strongest locomotive that I have. It is the most consistent when it comes down to pulling power and pushing. I can run it through the layout with low speeds and pull or push a consist of about 7 train cars. And that's pretty much of these O-scale train cars, which are rather long, over a foot apiece. And when you add enough of them up, they weigh in at quite a few pounds. Now, looking at the details of this engine, very impressive locomotive. Interior cab lighting. It has the ditch lights that oscillate, the main headlight, and a little door that opens up here, which I thought that was pretty decent. No fancy interior, just got the little men on the inside, and pretty much you see one of the motors that are in there. It has 2 motors to power the trucks. And as you can see, this has 6 axles, if I'm saying it correctly. Another thing to notice is the smoke unit that it has. The smoke unit that it has, which is rather impressive. It has smoke units, but it's actually just one. You just get double out of you get smoke out of both of them. Pretty much you apply the smoke in one, and then you get it out of both. With this smoke unit, it takes a little time before it really starts smoking. As you can see, it's smoking pretty good here. And the unit itself actually gets kind of warm if you touch above here after the engine's been running for quite some time. You can see that it's very detailed, all the grab irons and whatnot. The little chain in the back, it has a little chain in the front, the hoses and whatnot. The stairs have the little grates inside of them. I guess that's for grip or for water to be able to slide off of. And also, as you look at the platform, the little walk ledge also is very detailed with almost like the real thing. Now, this engine here, this radiator hood comes off, and basically what you got inside of it are your volume controls, your battery for operation. This is basically, I guess the battery is there for pretty much a shutdown, so the engine doesn't just stop, because until I put the battery in there, the engine will just instantly stop, or the sound effects will just instantly stop. So it basically keeps the sound going a little bit longer and does a full shutdown, which I thought was pretty impressive. This is one of the motors here, and this is a volume button to make it louder. I lowered it down because it's so loud, it'd be hard to talk over it. Also, you have the Odyssey button right here. I don't know if you can see it. Then you have the smoke, which is right here, and then you have program and run. I'm not exactly sure what the program and Odyssey button does. I'm gonna have to sit up and read it up. I think it comes with a different type of controller, which apparently I don't have. I still gotta step it up a little bit and get that. But just a quick little review on this engine here. And with this here, I will be running it with passenger cars. Like I said, once again, I just prefer passenger cars better, and I don't have any freight cars. I might pick up a couple. I saw some freight cars that I actually wouldn't mind pulling on this layout. So I think I'm gonna take the time to actually do that one day. And once again, I mean, like I said, there's still a whole lot that I need to learn about these engines. Apparently, you have the fuel tank that will be down here, which is the speakers. This has dual speakers, which actually gives it a very good sound. And I was actually impressed with the engine sounds. I don't exactly know how this engine is supposed to sound like. This is an AC 6000 Locomotive. It looks exactly like a Dash. I thought that's what it was, but apparently they make other models that look exactly the same. But nonetheless, this is just my little review on this engine here. I'll be trying to do a couple of things in the future. Hopefully I'll be able to. I'm thinking about actually purchasing some MTH track and replacing this. And what I'm hoping to be able to do one day is maybe get a video clip of me actually running a train all throughout my home. I'm not exactly sure how I'm going to pull that off yet, but I'm still trying to decide. Also, you can take a look and see that I purchased a little station. Just as something to try to make it look a little bit more realistic, rather than be so plain. As I go along, I'll just continue to add on more stuff as I feel fit. As you can see, I purchased this Proto Smoke. This is supposed to have the same scent as diesel fuel. You wouldn't want too much of that going on in your house, but it just gives it a more of a realistic image. But yeah, like I said, I'll be mixing it up and doing a couple other things in the future. So I'll probably be doing this with some of the current passenger cars that I have. I don't know if I'm gonna purchase anything different, but right now I guess I'll just show you the shutdown sequence for now. Someone had asked me to make a video explaining what necessarily got me into liking trains in the first place. If you take a look at the content on my channel, you see I got the boiler videos up, the videos on the radiators and things of that status. I guess the best to sum that up or conclude that is I pretty much have always had an interest in machines that consist of power. Trains just happen to be one of them. Now, how this kind of got started for me, when I was a little kid, just like any other little kid goes through, we all have those phases when we like riding trains and buses and whatnot. I used to look forward to riding the subway system. I don't really look forward to riding it now because you hear so many crazy things that go on in the subway system. It's not even funny. Back in July, a guy jumps in the track and electrocutes himself to death by the third rail. Just last week, as a matter of fact, some guy was pushed in front of a train as it was coming. So when you think about a lot of stuff, honestly, the subway system turns me off to an extent. Despite the fact that they actually got some newer equipment and some of the trains that they run now are very nice looking, but I'd rather not have to ride it if I don't have to. However, the type of trains that I'm into, always have and always will be, are coach trains, pretty much railroad companies. Now, I honestly would have to say that my favorite train to this day would preferably be Metro North. But if I would say it would pretty much be a tie or pretty much mutual between Metro North and NJ Transit. I'm going to get back into that in a second. I remember when I was a kid, my dad had this old scale train set. And he had these heavy metal locomotives, and it was a replica of a steam engine. And I remember we put the track all together around, it was just one loop, and we ran it one time, and it went one time around a loop, and that engine never ran again after that. But I remember all the cars and the train cars and whatnot, this is nothing but freight train cars, and they have one of those cabooses where I guess they kept staff members in or whatever. I used to sit back and play with that when I was a little kid. Nonetheless, now getting into Metro North and NJ Transit, if I was more acquainted with New Jersey Transit first, I probably would say that those would be my favorite trains off of pretty much a few simple reasons. New Jersey Transit just runs a larger scale of equipment. They have all types of train cars and engines, to electric locomotives that strictly run off of electric, various different types, to diesel locomotives that strictly run off of diesel, various different types, and even to the point where they have diesel electric locomotives that do both. As a matter of fact, they recently got the Out 45s that they're running now. The next thing I do like about New Jersey Transit is that they run bi-level train cars. As a matter of fact, I'll show you one that I actually own. This is not the exact same thing. This is just a little replica that actually other train companies have these type of cars. Not New Jersey Transit, but they do have a bi-level car of their own. And as a matter of fact, I'll show that to you. And these bi-level cars I think are way more updated and relatively new, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know too much about them, but they just have a very impressive, attractive look. I believe that there's a railroad company out in Canada that runs those same train cars. Now, I remember, what really got me into these coach train cars was I remember back in had to be in the early 90s. Now, I was accustomed to riding the subway, but I was not familiar with Metro North. I had seen them once or twice at the 125th Street train station, because anyone that's ever been in Harlem, New York, and been to 125th Street, you see that they got trains that run overhead. But I never had any reason to catch them, so I never rode the train at that time. So it was something I was unfamiliar with, and at the time, the subway was still, I would say, was my favorite train to ride at that time when I was a kid. So I remember one time when I was back in, I think it was junior high school. This had to be about 21 years ago, like 1990, 1991. I remember we had taken a walk. Anyone that knows anything about Riverdale, New York, there's a lot of woods areas around there. So we had went for some random walk through this woods area. Before I even get into that, I just remember there's a park over there, by the way, by the name of Wave Hill. And I used to go there when I was real young, to the ages of 5 up until the ages of at least 8 years old. Now I remember going into this park, and I always knew that there was a railroad somewhere in that area because I would hear trains passing by. I would hear the horns and just the sound of the trains flying through. I had no idea what train it was, and I honestly thought that these were steam locomotives at that time. Don't ask me why, I just did. Now, one day we actually get there, and we're walking through the woods, right? And at the bottom of the woods, alongside of it, are the railroad tracks. So somehow we stumbled across the bottom of these tracks and wind up right over there by the railroad. Now, instantly or shortly afterward, an electric train comes by, and I think these were MU cars, as a matter of fact. I'll even show you what I'm talking about. And once I took a look at this, it kind of caught my interest because I never had seen a train go that fast, because Metro North goes substantially faster than the subway system. Anyone that knows this or has actually ridden the two trains would know this. So that was a first eye-opener. So that wasn't where it was going to end there. So we wound up walking again into the woods and walked further up until we made it to the Wave Hill train station in Riverdale, New York. Now when you get here, this is pretty much a relatively quiet station. As a matter of fact, one of the last videos I did when I was actually at a train station filming, that's one of the train stations that I'm at. It's a quiet train station. When you get there, you pretty much have the railroad tracks, the platforms, you got the Hudson River, and then across the Hudson River is New Jersey. We get over to this platform and it's quiet as hell, and we sit down for a little while. Now this was me and a group of my classmates, the counselors and the teachers. Now I couldn't have been no older than 7 years old at that time, or 8, maybe. So we get there and we're sitting there and it's quiet as hell. Now, just to jump into another story real quickly. Back in September 11th, I rode Metro North, and I managed to actually speak with 2 of the motormen that actually operated the trains. And I was asking them some brief info on what are the requirements when it comes down to the horn, or when you pass through a station. Is it a mandatory thing that you have to blow the horn? And the guy was telling me pretty much when you pass the station or when you're approaching a station, you have to blow the horn to notify people that you're coming. And it's mandatory in the daytime. Now at nighttime, if there's no one there, it's not required that you do anything unless somebody's there, then you gotta blow the horn. What kind of got my attention was, as a matter of fact, just to furthermore illustrate, when we was at this platform, a train flew by. This is the exact O-scale replica of that same train. The only difference was back in the early 90s, they didn't have the modified cars with the 3 windows. Pretty much what you had was your motorman's operating window, the sliding door window for this door in the front, and then this was all just one slab of metal, and the MTA sign was located at the top. You take a look, if there's anyone that's watched me run my trains, my HO trains, you've seen that I ran these cars before. And pretty much what you had in the back of that was a locomotive. And just to show you, this is pretty much what I'm talking about. Now this can either push or pull the train. Now just to give you a little more insight about this train station, this platform. These train stations are relatively very long. They gotta be about the length of a football field. Now, one thing that I want people to notice is that anytime you're sitting at a train station or let's just say an inner city train where you're catching a subway or whatever train you have that runs in your city, you pretty much can tell when this train is coming from a distance because you can hear it clack, 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 all this loud noise that it makes. And you pretty much know when to stand back or when to get up to get ready to catch or board that train. Here's the difference with Metro North and these railroad companies that run these coach trains. A lot of the time you don't know that the train is even coming until it's up on you. So now, I'm sitting at this platform. Now this express train comes by, and these trains fly through at least 75 to 85 miles an hour. These trains blow through that platform fast, and it was running on the same track as a platform track. So I'm sitting there, and I'm there with a group of with the students and the counselors, and it's quiet 1 second. Then the next minute I turn around and the train is already halfway through the platform. I mentioned how long this platform was, and how the minute I turned around, I didn't even hear it coming. It was just already halfway through the platform. Also, I mentioned how the train operator is supposed to blast the horn before they reach the platform. This guy didn't wait. Or pretty much what he did was wait until he got right up on us. Now, we were sitting all the way at the front of the platform, and this train comes flying through at least 85 miles an hour, and he waited until he got right up on us to blast his horn as loud as he could. It scared the crap out of everyone that was at that platform that day. There was a friend of mine, he was sitting on the ground with chestnuts in his hand. He jumps up, I jump back, and a couple other kids went running in other directions. That's how fast this thing was coming. To top it all off, when that was said and done, I mean, once that train flew by, as a matter of fact, I'll show you an image or a clip of just what I'm talking about, of the exact same style train that came by around 21 years ago. Do you see what I'm talking about? You see how fast that thing was moving? Now you just put a 7 or 8-year-old kid over there who already has a fascination with trains and never seen a train of this style, let alone never seen a train that fast come that close or right at that very own platform. That in-your-face action. That's what captured my interest. Now mind you, I mentioned how the engineer waited to blast his horn not as he was coming to the station, but when he already got through to the front of that platform. These platforms, and I'm going to say it one more time in case I didn't say it before, these platforms are about the length of a football field. Now, that train that you seen pass by, it had to at least be doing 80 to 85 miles an hour. These trains fly by so fast that you can feel the wind smack you on your face. That's how fast it's moving. I remember one time I was actually standing at one of these platforms and I had a hat on and it blew my hat right off my head. Some would say that this would scare the shit out of them. You even heard someone in the background say that was some close shit. But for a little kid, and me being me at that time, it sparked my interest that much more. And I somewhat became just more fascinated with it and wanted to learn more about it. And that's just the way it's always been when it's come down to any type of machinery. Oh, just for the record, the only difference with that train that you seen pass by, which was the exact same replica or the exact same train that they were running back in the early 90s, was the engine that you seen in the back of it. The engine that you seen in the back of it was a P42 Genesis. A modified P42 Genesis, by the way. As a matter of fact, just to show you, this is the exact same locomotive that Metro North uses. This is the older version or the older paint scheme. Still the same locomotive, just that the newer ones have been painted different, and the front of it is all blue. And it has like a red stripe that runs along the bottom instead of having this stripe here. And I believe that they have less horsepower, from what one of the motormen were telling me, that they lower down the horsepower so they can comply with air regulation or air pollution codes and whatnot. So they still got a few of these that they use, and these are original horsepower and they're strong as hell. Amtrak also runs them as well, as I showed in the beginning of the video clip. But they have them here in New York and painted in different paint schemes. But the locomotive that you was looking at that actually, sorry about that. The locomotive that I seen the first time I was there was the FL9, or also known as the F10, which I also showed earlier, which is this. This is a replica, a Lionel replica. The only difference is the paint scheme was different. It might have been an F10, but the paint scheme was a blue, red, and I believe a silver or a silverish, grayish kind of color. And what they did was they would run these back to back, have a pair of these together, pushing or pulling the train. And pretty much what this was doing was pushing the train into Grand Central Station at the exact same speed. One other thing I wanted to briefly mention about the P42 Genesis. These Genesis locomotives, I first seen my first Genesis locomotive with my own two eyes back in 1997 when they first introduced them to the Metro North Railroad. Now maybe they brought them out sooner, I'm not sure, but that's the first time I've noticed them. This is the exact same replica. This is a brass HO scale engine. And like I said, the one that you've seen in the video clip that I just showed you that passed by is a modified version. I believe they started modifying them back in either late 2006 or sometime back in 2007. Same style, same exact engine, just I guess they downgraded some stuff as far as horsepower is concerned or whatever the case may be. They put these in to fill in for the FL9s because I guess the FL9s were giving so many problems with the F10s. They might still have a few of them in some of the rail yards, but I believe they stopped running the FL9s back in like 2006 or 2008. For someone who has a passion for machinery and things with power, when you stop and you thoroughly analyze the power of a train, the power of a boiler, the power of a cruise ship, how strong are these machines? How strong is a single locomotive to push or pull 7 train cars up or down a platform or a bed of tracks? These train cars are heavy as hell. When you think about everything that this locomotive has to do for this train and these train cars, especially if they're strictly running off of diesel, that diesel fuel alone generates electricity because there's a generator in there to at least start the motor and get the engine going. This electricity also is shared through or distributed throughout the train cars because it has to power the lights, the heat, the air conditioning. It has to power the cab car so the motorman can operate the cab if he's going in reverse back into the city with the locomotive pushing the train back into Grand Central. It powers the lavatories, or the lavatories, whatever they call the bathrooms, the restrooms, whatever you have. It also provides compressed air for braking power, or whatever the case is. There's a lot that these engines do. As a matter of fact, I took a look when I was riding Metro North back in September 11th, and the high voltage wires that come from the engine, from the locomotive to the train cars, is 480 volts AC power. So you stop and you analyze all of this work that this one locomotive has to do. As a matter of fact, someone had a video clip on YouTube of a Alp 46 electric locomotive, strictly electric, which I believe what I'm going to say are clearly more stronger than any diesel that Metro North runs, and probably New Jersey Transit. But this train was pulling 15 cars with a mixed consist of bi-level train cars and regular train cars. Now the bi-level train cars, from what I understand, are heavy as hell, substantially heavier than the regular level train cars. How do I know this? Because one of the engineers, one of the motormen, told me himself when I was in Penn Station a couple of years back. So when you stop and you analyze the strength that it takes to move something that heavy, that fast, that distance, at the time it was just something that was completely overwhelming for me as a child. And it captured my interest, and it's always been something that I've had a passion toward. I kind of fell back off of it for a little while because I got into other things, but the passion never died. It just somewhat remained dormant until I got back into it. And every now and then I would also go back to Riverdale or any Metro North train station that I could find, and I just get my camcorder and shoot whatever I could. It's just something that I like to do. So if anybody that was curious to know why I do some of the stuff that I do, I'm unusual. I'm unlike anybody else that you ever know. There ain't no other person in the world that's like me. There's only one of me, and that's exactly what I'm going to be, is me. Anyway, just to conclude this and sum this up, I will be doing more videos on my O scale, HO scale, train layout as I furthermore expand it and get a little bit more creative. But I hope that gives anybody any answers that they wanted to know on how I got into the hobbies and things that I'm into.